Om Namah Shri Atirajaya.
Om Namah Shri Atirajaya.
Vivekananda Suraye.
Vivekananda Suraye.
Satchit Sukha Swarupaya.
Satchit Sukha Swarupaya.
Swamine Tapaharine.
Swamine Tapaharine.
It was the 24th of February 1884. That evening, Naren had been invited by one of his friends to his home in a locality close to Dakshineshwar called Varanagore. Naren went there with a few friends. This is what the Americans call sleepover. Go to a friend's house and sleep in the night there. So they sang a lot of songs and bhajans, had a nice dinner, went on singing and talking till midnight, and they went to sleep at midnight. 2 a.m. of the 26th of February, there was a loud banging on the door. When the door was opened, the boys found it is a member of the family of Naren. He told Naren, you have to come home immediately. Your father had a massive heart attack a couple of hours ago and expired. Naren had to rush back home. He was the eldest son. He had to take care of all the funeral arrangements, funeral rites and all that. And after 10 days, the mother and the eldest son sat together to make an inventory of all the property left behind by Vishwanath Datta. Mind you, Vishwanath Datta was one of the richest lawyers in Kolkata. And to their horror, they found they were bankrupt. Vishwanath Datta had left behind nothing for them. The whole property was gone. His partners had cheated him right and left. They had taken a loan in the name of Vishwanath Datta and absconded. And Vishwanath Datta was left handing or trying to resolve the issue. His property was completely utilized for that. That is why he had a massive heart attack. Now, Bhuvaneshwari Devi and Naren simply did not know what to do. At the same time, their cousins living in the same house went to the court claiming that the house belonged to them, not to Naren. Out of sheer disgust, Bhuvaneshwari Devi took her children with her and went to stay with her mother. You remember I have shown you the picture of her mother's house, upstairs and the room upstairs. Luckily for Bhuvaneshwari, she was the only child of her parents and she was the owner of the entire property of her father. It was not much, but it gave her a monthly income of 100 rupees. So with that we had to manage. They had to manage. How could they? With a big family used to aristocratic ways. So Naren had to go in search of a job. He started going from office to office and he found a board staring at him. No vacancy. Wherever there was a vacancy, either he was overqualified or he was underqualified. Tried and tried and tried. He would search for a job from morning till evening and dead tired he would come back home, go into the kitchen, look into the rice pot. He would see a little bit of rice at the bottom. He would ask his mother, have you taken your dinner? The mother said, no, I was waiting for you. Then Naren told her a lie. Oh, why did you? I have already eaten with my friends, you go ahead. And the mother believed him. This way he was hungry without food and water for 3 or 4 days at a stretch. He would get some odd jobs here or there, small jobs, but that was not enough for the family. He never allowed his friends to know what had happened to him. He wanted to keep up his dignity. How old was he? 1884, February, 21 years, at the prime of his youth. Whenever he found time, he would go for a walk with his friends in the gardens, especially near Ochterlony Monument, Maidan. One evening, all the friends were sitting in the Maidan, and one of the friends started singing a song from Brahmo Samaj about Brahman. Naren listened to the singing, blew up. All this Brahman business is for those whose stomach is not empty, whose stomach is full. Nonsense, he said. Next day the report went to Sri Ramakrishna. Naren has become an atheist. Sri Ramakrishna simply smiled and kept quiet. Another day, they were all sitting in that area talking when they saw a couple of ladies passing by. The ladies belonged to the oldest profession. They were prostitutes. Some of the boys laughed at them and made a comment, "Look at these characters, selling their bodies for a little bit of money." Naren again blew up. What is wrong with that? If that is the only way they can keep away death from their door, why not? They are not doing anything wrong. Society has to be blamed for that. Next day the report went to Sri Ramakrishna. Naren has started frequenting houses of ill repute. This time Sri Ramakrishna became upset. Don't talk rubbish. I know my Naren. He would never do anything like that. Once again, if you talk like that, I will not allow you to come to Dakshineshwar. I will not allow you to see me or meet me. But unfortunately, this vote of confidence of Sri Ramakrishna in Naren never reached him. Nobody came back and told him. So life went on like this. Suddenly, the first of 1 month, they received a money order for 100 rupees. Nobody knows even today who it was. But somebody started sending the family 100 rupees per month. She already had an earning of 100 from her property, another 100. Bhuvaneshwari Devi was a very efficient lady. She somehow managed the family. Only later, when the Raja of Khetri in Rajasthan became a disciple of Swamiji and took over the responsibility for the maintenance of the family problems were resolved. Until then, they had to pass through very bad times. One day, Naren had been going from place to place looking for a job. He was dead tired by evening, very depressed, started drizzling. When your mind is depressed and you are physically tired, a drizzle can create so much of depression in you that you have the tendency to commit suicide. This is what happens in the case of old people who have no hopes left in life. A drizzle is the worst thing that can happen. Heavy rain is something else. A drizzle is something which depresses people like anything. Naren found shelter in the portico of a house. He sat there and started thinking to himself, why are these things happening to me? I am so highly educated. I am supposed to be intelligent. How is it I am not able to get a job? How is it I am not able to make my own way, earn my own living? Then he remembered, maybe I am not meant to lead a life like this. I am probably meant to abandon the world and become a sannyasi. You remember the old thought that he wants to be a celibate, doesn't want to get married. But then how to decide? How could he tell his mother, I want to go away from home and become a sannyasi. What will happen to the poor lady? She is dependent upon him. Then he thought, okay, next time Thakur comes to Kolkata, let me go and meet him and ask him. Incidentally, his first visit to Dakshineshwar was for the purpose of asking whether he should get married or not. He didn't have to ask the question at all. Thakur himself one day during conversation told him, you wanted to have an answer to that question, right? Huh? It is not written in your stars. Don't worry, you will remain a celibate throughout your life. That is why Swamiji always used to say that old man knows everything. That old man has an answer to everything. So now again Naren thought, why not I go and talk to Sri Ramakrishna? 2 or 3 days later, Thakur came to Kolkata. Naren went there. Thakur was happy to see him. And all his friends were surprised. How is it Naren, who was hiding from Sri Ramakrishna, has now suddenly come to see him? Why did Naren meanwhile not go to the Dakshineshwar? He didn't want to talk to Sri Ramakrishna about his problems. Otherwise, what would people think? He is making use of Thakur to solve his problems. Now he came and sat there. He wanted to ask Sri Ramakrishna that question when Thakur said, not here, shh, not here, come with me to Dakshineshwar. At the end of the day, Thakur took Naren with him in the horse carriage to Dakshineshwar. They came to Sri Ramakrishna's room, full of people waiting for Thakur to come back. Naren also sat there, and after a few minutes, Naren again wanted to ask the question when Thakur said, listen to a song. Sounds funny, isn't it? Cruel. Naren has a problem, he wants a solution, and Thakur, as if Naren is a child, wants to entertain him with a song. But Swamiji always used to say, Sri Ramakrishna never did anything without a purpose. There was a purpose behind it. What is this song sung by Thakur? It is from an incident in Bhagavatam. Sri Krishna was living as a boy in Vrindavana. There was a neighboring village called Barsana. Radha is supposed to belong to the village Barsana. She had come to Vrindavana to be with Sri Krishna, to spend time with him. Akrura comes from Mathura, the uncle of Krishna and Balarama. He comes and tells Krishna and Balarama, there is a festival in Mathura organized by your uncle Kamsa. He has sent you invitations. Please come over there. They agree, and after a few days, they get into the chariot with Akrura and start their journey towards Mathura. In all movies showing this, in all the TV serials, Krishna and Radha sing a song, like our modern hero and heroine in a movie. Ha Krishna, ha Radha, isn't it? Krishna looking at Radha, Radha looking at Krishna. Nothing like that happens. Krishna simply cuts off the connection. Over. That part of his life is over. He doesn't even turn back. He simply drives away towards Mathura. Now Radha decides in her mind to go back to Barsana. She has nothing to do now. One of her friends somehow has a suspicion Radha wants to go back. She sings a song to Radha. Oh Radha, I am afraid to ask you. I am equally afraid not to ask you, but I suspect you are thinking of leaving us. Thakur sang that song. Naren heard the song, realized Thakur is singing to me. I am afraid to ask you. I am equally afraid not to ask you, but I have a suspicion. I think you are trying to leave us. Naren broke down into tears. Till then, nobody had seen him cry. This incident is reported in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The author, Master Moshai, was an eyewitness. Then Sri Ramakrishna told Naren, Naren, time has not yet come for you to abandon the world. You have to be in this world for some more time. At least promise me that so long as I am in this body, you will continue to live in this world. Naren had to promise. But meanwhile, what about the family maintenance? Strangely enough, from the next day onwards, he started getting fairly good jobs. He got an offer from Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar to become the principal of one of his schools. He did the job for about 6 months or so. Then he got another job. Very slowly, the family circumstances started recovering. 2 or 3 friends of his father's, who were also lawyers, came forward to help him file a case in the court against his cousins and uncles and aunts to restore the property. And they said, you don't worry, we will take care of the court case. They paid the expenses. So Naren was relieved. Except for the fact occasionally he had to show his face in the court. The friends of his father took over the entire responsibility. One day a thought occurred to Naren. There are so many rich people of Kolkata who come to meet Thakur in Dakhineshwar. Suppose Thakur puts in a word on my behalf to any one of these people, will they not be able to get me a job? So he decided, okay, I will go to Dakhineshwar, ask Thakur myself. He went to Dakhineshwar one evening. He didn't realize it was a Tuesday. And you know, Tuesday is a holy day for Devi, Kali, Durga. He went there at about 5 or 5:30 in the evening. There was nobody in Sri Ramakrishna's room. Because there was a special puja on Tuesday, all the devotees had gone to the temple. Thakur welcomed him. Then Naren raised the issue. Thakur, can you kindly put in a word on my behalf to one of your rich disciples of Kolkata to get me a job? Thakur laughed. My dear boy, I don't ask them anything for myself. How can I ask them to get you a job? Sorry, I can't do that. What will they think of me? What will they think of you? Then Naren said, all right, do one thing. You ask your Divine Mother to get me a job. Sri Ramakrishna again laughed. Me ask the Divine Mother for a job for you? You don't believe in her. You are a Brahmo Samaji. Brahmo Samajis do not believe in image worship. You don't even believe in her existence and she has to help you? Nah, Baba, I can't do that. I can't do that. However, this is Tuesday. Sacred day for Kali. She is in the temple. 9 o'clock in the night, the temple opens for night worship. Why don't you go and ask her yourself? Naren said, all right. I'll go to the temple, ask the Divine Mother herself for my job. Meanwhile, lots of people came in. Conversation went on. And people started leaving home one after the other. Naren stayed back. And around 9:15, he walked from Sri Ramakrishna's room across the quadrangle to go to Kali temple. There are 2 sets of steps to Kali temple. One set of steps, platform, another set of steps. If you climb the first step, you come to the platform. If you stand at the platform, you can see directly into the sanctum sanctorum. So Naren stood there, looked inside, and to his surprise he found a living woman standing there. It was not a stone image. He walked into the temple. You remember the picture of the temple? Yes. Kali's basalt image. Stood before the Divine Mother and prayed to her in a simple manner. Ma, Ami Bhakti Dao, Vivek Dao, Vairag Dao. O Mother, give me bhakti, devotion, viveka, wisdom, vairagya, renunciation, and came back. Sri Ramakrishna asked him, did you get a job? He said, I completely forgot. You stupid fellow, go back. Go back, ask again. She is still there. Second time Narayan came. But the moment he saw that woman standing there, he forgot everything. Ma, Ami Bhakti Dao, Vivek Dao, Vairag Dao. Came back. Sri Ramakrishna again asked him, did she give you a job? Narayan said, I completely forgot. And Sri Ramakrishna used an expression which normally people use in the north, in the villages. You shala, in the Hindi speaking belt, the word sala means actually brother-in-law. It can also mean an abuse. It can also mean affection. Two people meet after a long time and one of them tells the other, Abhe Sale, kaise ho? You must have seen this in Hindi movies. Abhe Sale, kaise ho? It is not an insult, it is love and affection. So Sri Ramakrishna, being from a village, very commonly used the word shala. As a matter of fact, our students, when they stage the drama on Vinodini, on our stage, in their dialogues, they have used this word once or twice, used by Sri Ramakrishna. That is very appropriate to Bengal. So, you Shala, can't even remember that much? Third and last time, go and ask her. Don't forget. Naren this time decided, come what may, I am going to ask for a job. So he went on thinking about it. Halfway to the temple, he suddenly stopped. A thought occurred to him. What is this I am doing? If the emperor of the country were to invite you to his palace and tell you, my dear boy, I am very pleased with you, come and sit with me on my throne, and tell you, everything in the empire belongs to you, choose anything you want. The whole empire is at your disposal. What will you ask the emperor? A piece of cucumber? Kaddu? A vegetable? Asking the Divine Mother when she is present there for a job, he is like asking the emperor for a piece of vegetable. He felt ashamed. He went to the temple, prostrated before the Divine Mother, apologized to her and said, Ma, I want nothing else. Ami, Bhakti Dao, Vivek Dao, Vairag Dao, and came back. Even before Sri Ramakrishna would open his mouth, Naren told him, it is all you are doing. You are behind all these things. You are not different from your mother. That thought in my mind you planted. Oh, you have to get me the job. Thakur said, what nonsense. You don't have the presence of mind. So for about 15-20 minutes, their quarrel went on. Until Thakur said, all right, Baba, I can assure you one thing. Your family will not lack for the three basic amenities in life: food, clothing, and shelter. But you will never be rich again. That's what happened. Immediately after that, Naren started getting more and more jobs. He was able to earn more and more money. There was this benefactor sending 100 rupees per month. Bhuvaneshwari's property of 100 rupees per month. The two elder sisters had been married off. There was no burden. Only the education of the two younger brothers, and they were quite intelligent boys. They should be. Being the younger brothers of Vivekananda, Narendra, they were intelligent. So the family circumstances improved. And another great thing which happened was, more than 50% of the property which had been confiscated by Naren's cousins was restored to them. That means the house came back to them, and in another 5 years or so, the entire case was resolved in Naren's favor, so they were able to move back into the old house. Things started looking up. What was the consequence? Naren had now more time to come and spend with Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. Now the training continued. The training had been interrupted because of the death of Vishwanath Datta. So now the training was resumed and it continued. More and more disciples had come. For all the young disciples, Sri Ramakrishna appointed Naren as their leader. He was training all the others to become sannyasis, but Naren alone he trained to become the leader of the entire group. We now come to the month of March 1885. March every year is the onset of summer in North India. You know, North Indian summers can be very hot. Next month, March, in Bangalore, is going to be very hot. Better be prepared for that. As a matter of fact, by April or May, the maximum temperature is likely to shoot up to 39 degrees Celsius. So better be prepared for all those things. Global warming. In those days, there was no global warming, but still Kolkata is always a hot and humid place. People from Bombay, people from Madras, Trivandrum. Anybody here from Trivandrum? Most of Kerala, you sweat a lot. Keralites take bath thrice a day in summer. When I was in Trivandrum, I used to take bath thrice. The moment you take bath and come out of the bathroom, you start sweating. Kolkata was very hot. Sri Ramakrishna expressed a desire that he wants to drink ice cold water. Summer. Where could they get ice from? There was only one place where ice was manufactured. Fort St. William's in Kolkata. It is the equivalent of Fort St. George in Madras. Fort St. William's the Britishers had an ice factory. You had to go all the way there, pay money, purchase a block, and bring it back with you yourself. Ice block weighs a lot, very heavy. And how to bring it all the way from there to Dakshineshwar? One of the young people volunteered, Shashi Bhushan Chakrabarti, who later became Ramakrishnananda. He volunteered. I'll go there, purchase the ice block, carry it on my shoulders. But will not the ice melt? What they do is they cover the ice with straw and cover that with a gunny bag, because that becomes heat resistant, insulator. And Shashi every day used to bring one block of ice on his shoulders. It would be kept in the dark room in the kitchen. Whenever Thakur wanted to drink Ganga water, it would be brought from the river, a little ice would be added to that, and he would drink ice cold water. You know what happens in a tropical country where you sweat a lot if you go on drinking ice cold water? It affects the throat. It affects the throat. It doesn't happen in Bangalore, because Bangalore nights are cool. Whereas in tropical areas, coastal areas, even the nights are warm. You sweat a lot. The temperature inside the body then completely changes relative to temperature outside the body. Thakur started coughing. The month of April, there was a festival in a nearby town, Panihati, connected to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every year Thakur was going there. This time also he said he wants to go there. All the disciples protested. Ram Dada was there. Ram Dada was a doctor. So he told Thakur, no Thakur, you can't go with your health. Thakur refused. He said, no, I have to go. So a few people collected around Thakur. One of them asked the question, would you like to ask Sriman to come with you? Would you like to ask Sriman to come with us? He said, all right, go and ask her. Ask her, if she wants, she can come. So they went to Shrima, told her, Ma, in a couple of days all of us are going to Panihati. Would you like to come with us? What did Thakur say? She said, he says, if you want, you can come. Then I won't come. She kept quiet. She didn't come. So on the morning of that day, festival day, 3 or 4 boats came from Kolkata. Thakur got into one of the boats and the whole group made their way to Panihati on the seashore. Sri Ramakrishna danced and sang the whole day with the group of Chaitanya devotees. And it slowly started drizzling. He became wet but did not stop his ecstatic dancing and singing. And by evening, when he was returning home in the boat, he felt a little feverish. Ramchandra Datta announced that Thakur has fever. So they brought him back to the Dakhineshwar. Shrima was informed. Shrima immediately made some Ayurvedic lotion or something like that, kashaya. It was administered to Thakur. Coughing had increased. Day by day, his coughing became worse. Fever did not go down. Seeing this, the householder devotees were worried. They brought an Ayurvedic doctor who came and recommended a powder or an ointment to be smeared on the throat outside. It was done. 1 week or 10 days, there was relief. Again, coughing, fever. Another doctor came and said, it is not enough if you smear it outside the throat, you should smear it inside the throat. So they smeared it inside the throat. Again, for about a week or 10 days, improvement. Then again, relapse. This went on and on and on. Towards the end of June, Sri Ramakrishna had been invited by 2 of his female devotees, sisters, to their home in Baranagar for bhajan, bhojan. He was supposed to be there by 7 o'clock. All the other disciples had assembled in that house, including Naren. Even 8 o'clock, Sri Ramakrishna did not turn up. A man was asked to run from there to Dakhineshwar to inquire what had happened. It is not very far away. By 8:30 he returned and said, Thakur wanted to leave at 6 o'clock in a horse carriage. When he came out of the room to get into the carriage, he had a fit of coughing. He vomited blood. Everybody became grave. You remember Naren had read medical books? Immediately he announced, I am afraid Thakur has contacted Rohini Roga. So Naren announced that this is cancer. Rohini Roga, cancer. What does it mean? Our Guru is not going to survive for long. Even today people are terribly scared of the word cancer. Suppose you examine a person and you detect he or she has cancer, how will you announce it to the family? I am asking you. How will you announce it to the family?
Call the family members first.
So easy. Some family member may collapse, have a heart attack. Patient himself or herself may have a heart attack. Even today people are terribly scared of cancer. You can imagine in those days where there was no cure at all. Rohini Roga. Thakur was diagnosed with throat cancer. So Naren said, the time has now come for us to band ourselves together to take care of Thakur's health and try to learn as much as possible from him. before he decides to abandon his human body. So they formed two groups. The householders, they said, we will take care of the medical expenses, the fees for the doctor. And they told the younger people, they used to call them boys, you have to take care of his personal service, looking after him personally. Division of labor. They never talked to Thakur about it. Then they employed or engaged a couple of other Ayurvedic doctors. Those Ayurvedic doctors told the householders, we have no objection to come all the way from Kolkata to here, Dakshineshwar, but if we come to see one patient, we can't see other patients on that particular day. It affects our practice. So, for a change, why don't you shift Thakur to Kolkata? When did Sri Ramakrishna come to Dakshineshwar from Kolkata? 1855. This is 1885. 30 years he had lived on the banks of the river Ganga. So the householders said, he won't agree. He doesn't want to leave the side of Ganga. Doctor said, then you will have problem fixing doctors. So they went to Dakshineshwar and told Thakur about all this and told him, the doctors recommend that you be shifted to Kolkata. To their surprise, Sri Ramakrishna readily agreed. Why not? If it helps the doctors, look for a proper house in Kolkata, shift me there. In the month of September, beginning of September 1885, householders located a home in Kolkata. They took Sri Ramakrishna there. Sri Ramakrishna saw the home and said, I'm sorry I can't stay in this house. First of all, it was in a narrow lane. No air, no light, and Sri Ramakrishna had spent 30 years in that free air, clean air, by the side of the river Ganga. So he went away to the house of Balram Bose. Balram Bose welcomed him. Big house. I'll show you the picture later. Big house which could accommodate him. 1 week later, the householders came and said, Thakur, we have located a much bigger house with a very big compound. From the terrace of the house, you can have a look at the river Ganga in an area called Shampukur. This was the famous Shampukur garden house. Thakur was taken there. Thakur saw that. He was very happy. Mind you, this was in the middle of the month of September 1885. Thakur stayed there till the 11th of December 1885. How many months? 3 months. And in those 3 months, several incidents happened. I'll narrate to you only 2 or 3 of them, important ones. The householders were so anxious to bring Sri Ramakrishna to Kolkata, they completely forgot about Sharda Devi. They left her behind. Now imagine her condition. Her husband has been diagnosed with throat cancer. For treatment, he has been taken to Kolkata. No channel of communication, no telephones, no cell phone, no emails. How could she get information about her husband? When somebody by chance came from Shampukur garden house to Dakshineshwar, she had 2 or 3 female companions. That was their job. They had to go occasionally to Shampukur, come back and tell Sharda Devi how Sri Ramakrishna was progressing. One of them was a woman of fairly low IQ, not much of common sense. One day she came from Shampukur garden house, told Sharda Devi, Ma, you know why Thakur went away to Kolkata? He is upset with you. Female gossip. Female gossip can kill as effectively as any pistol or any gun. Isn't it? Don't get excited. I said female gossip, he got excited. Sharda Devi got shocked. She got up, started walking all the way to Shampukur, not knowing the way, asking the way around. She was the one who never even opened her veil in front of her husband. Now she is running in the streets of Kolkata. She came to Shampukur garden house, went upstairs, barged into Sri Ramakrishna's room and told him, asked him, is it a fact you are upset with me? Thakur was surprised. He said, what? What are you talking about? Who told you? Golapma told me. That Golapma, she is a gossip. How do you believe her? Call her. Golapma had come running behind Sharda Devi. He scolded Golapma right and left. Never spread rumors like this. And he reassured Sharda Devi, I am not upset with you. Then he called the household devotees and told them what a stupid mistake you had made separating me and her. Have you seen the movie Bagban? Yes? No? All right?
Yes.
Very emotional movie, isn't it?
Yes.
Why? Husband and wife are separated by the children. That should never be done. Your parents should never be separated from one another for your selfish reason. Immediately the householder said, we will make arrangement for Shri Ma to stay upstairs on the terrace. Poor lady, she had to live under a lean-to roof, which was her kitchen, her bedroom. And for taking bath, she used to get up at 3 in the morning, come down, take bath and run upstairs. What about food? When food was ready, one of the boy attendants of Thakur would ask everybody to leave. Shima would come from the terrace, feed Thakur and go back. Hard life for her, but she bore it cheerfully because she was with Sri Ramakrishna. At least that household arrangement got stabilized. The next incident, this is a very famous incident. I hope all of you are aware of the most famous festival of Bengalis. Which is the most famous festival of Bengalis? Durga Puja. Durga Puja. Durga Puja came around. One of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Surendranath Mitra, wanted to celebrate Puja at home. He invited Sri Ramakrishna. Thakur told him, you know my health condition, I can't come. However, I send you all my blessings. Surendra brought the image home, ceremonially started worshipping it. It was the junction time between the Ashtami and Navami, Sandhi Kala. At that time, the worship of Durga is done. Most auspicious moment. You know why it is so auspicious? That is the time at which she is supposed to have slain Mahishasura. Mahishasura representing all the evil qualities of human beings in this world. That is why it is sacred to Bengalis. At that time, Thakur was in Kashipur garden house, surrounded by a large number of his disciples, including Naren. Suddenly, at that Sandhi Kala, his eyes became indrawn, he became rigid, went into Samadhi. Half an hour he stayed like that, and then opened his eyes and called Naren and said, Naren, Suren's house is opposite to your house. Why don't you take 3 or 4 of these boys with you? Why don't all of you go to Suren's house to have a darshan of Durga? Poor Suren. The image is so beautiful. Lamps, oil lamps have been lit from the main road right up to the sanctum. But Suren is standing there crying because he is missing me. Naren immediately caught hold of 3 or 4 of his companions, and all of them came to Gaur Mohan Mukherjee Lane. They saw that from the road up to the sanctum, There were hundreds and hundreds of oil lamps which had been lit. And they went straight to the sanctum sanctorum. Durga was standing there right in front of them. They saw Surendra standing. He was not crying. He appeared to be happy. Surendra welcomed all of them. Then Naren told him, Surendra Babu, we have been told by Thakur to come and meet you. He said you were crying. Yes, Naren. When the puja started, I missed Thakur so much, I was crying. But then, I saw him sitting by the side of Durga. I rubbed my eyes. He was still there. I went to him. I touched his body. He was real. He smiled at me. Why should I cry now? When Thakur himself has come there, why should I cry now? He stayed here for half an hour. At the end of the puja, he disappeared. That is why I am so happy. Thakur came there to give us his darshan along with Durga's darshan. Believable? Patanjali Yoga Sutrani, third pada, Vibhuti pada. This is one of the yoga siddhis which say dematerialize in one place, rematerialize in another place. There are lots and lots of examples in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. This was the only time he demonstrated that yoga siddhi. Otherwise he would not do that. It was to make Surendra happy. That is why Swami Vivekananda later said that old man can do anything. Life went on. Another doctor had been employed, engaged. Mahendra Lal Sarkar, the first batch MBBS graduate of Kolkata University, allopathy. After a few years, he went to Germany to study homeopathy with Hahnemann, the inventor of homeopathy, the founder of homeopathy. Came back, changed his practice to homeopathy. He was invited to look after Thakur. So he came there, Shampukur Garden House, looked at Thakur and exclaimed, "Oh, you are here. I had been wondering what happened to you." The funny thing was, Mahendra Sarkar was the family physician of Rashmani and Mathur Babu. He used to come to Dakshineshwar occasionally and he had seen Thakur as a priest. Then he told the householders, "Oh, he is the patient, is it? Then how can I charge him fees? He is our own. He is our own. Even before you came to know him, he was ours. No fees charged." And why? He said to be in the company of Sri Ramakrishna itself is a great honor and a great blessing. Oh, who wants money? One thing he told Sri Ramakrishna, talk less. You talk too much. And he would come and sit with Thakur and talk for 2 hours. He and Sri Ramakrishna used to have long conversations. You find them in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Then one day somebody asked the doctor, "Doctor, you tell us not to talk to Thakur, not to make him talk, but when you come, you spend 2 to 3 hours with him talking, he also talks. How is that?" He said, "I am a doctor. So what does it matter if he talks to me? You are not doctors." He used to pass it off as a joke. And Mahendra Sarkar was very fond of Naren. One last bit. We started rather late. I still have 5 minutes according to that clock. One last story. Long, long ago, a Madrasi physicist went to Kolkata to work in a government office. One evening he was coming back home on the tram. The trams in Kolkata used to have seats above also, like London trams. He was sitting there near Chowk, after Loni Monument. He saw a board on a building, Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. He rang the bell. stepped down, went straight in and asked somebody there, "Who is the director?" "Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee." "Can I meet him?" "Sure, please walk in. He is there in the room." So the young man walked into the room and said, "I am interested in doing research in physics. I want to join your organization." Ashutosh Mukherjee interviewed him, took him as a research assistant, and that is where the young man did a large number of experiments on crystallography and the scattering of light by electrons in water. And he came up with the solution why the sky and why water, they look blue. He was invited to go to England to give a series of lectures. He came back, his name became very well known, and in the middle of the 1930s, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. What is his name? C.V. Raman. That institution, Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, was established by Mahendralal Sarkar. There is a connection. And Swami Vivekananda, Narendra, had a scientific bent of mind. Mahendralal Sarkar liked it very much, encouraged it. Then Mahendralal Sarkar said, "No sign of improvement in Thakur. You have to take him out of the congestion of Kolkata to the outskirts of Kolkata." The householders went house hunting. Finally, in the remote area outside Kolkata, in a place called Kashipur, they found a garden house of Rani Katyayani, which they hired, and on the 11th of December, they shifted Sri Ramakrishna to that house. This is the stage for the last act in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, and this is where he anointed Narendra as the next leader of the group of people. 11th December 1885 to 16th August 1886. Tomorrow, I'll be talking to you about events which happened in Kashipur Garden House. This is more or less the period of wrapping up everything Thakur had told them and handing over the baton to Naren. After this, Naren was on his own, an independent leader. That is where his leadership qualities came to the fore. So well had Sri Ramakrishna trained him that he became the leader of the group and the world famous Swami Vivekananda. Okay, one more turning point in the life of Narendranath Datta. So we close with the prayer. Harihi Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om Tat Sat.
Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.